What happens when we die? It's a subject that many of us blatantly avoid and deflect. It's a subject that, in honesty, nobody really wants to be having conversations about when they die, when their family dies, when their, mother or father or very close friend, loved one dies. And it is a subject which often, the more that we avoid it, the worse the consequences are after we're not here. So yeah, let me give you some insights into why I know that Gayle's work is needed and why I wish more and more people would wake up to the truth and take responsibility for themselves, for their loved ones, for their families, a lot sooner. Because it's not until you're really faced with death or getting old, and who defines the word old, that we sometimes think about it. So, my parents are in their late 60s. Um, my partner's parents are in their late 80s, one's 90. And, the thoughts around family, the thoughts around, their wishes when they die, the thoughts around the care that they need later in their life and the care that they need later in their life, and also the thoughts around the estate, potentially how it will be divided, and the consequences of that, what that actually means, but also who's going to be dealing with all of that. When it's all said and done, who is going to deal with the stuff when you die? And it literally is as simple as that. And if we don't share our wishes around our funeral, um, our care late in life when we're at a stage where maybe we aren't able to make decisions for ourselves, and then, of course, when we actually die, if we haven't had those conversations before, then how do we expect for people to know what those wishes are? And then what actually happens when we do die? So for me, the misconception is I'm too old to do this now. Um, you know, ultimately, we could all die today, tomorrow. We do not know. Just because we think we have to wait until we're in our 70s, maybe, or 80s, that's bullshit because we could die today, we could die tomorrow. And have we got all of our things taken care of? So I know that, a lot of people in their 60s, maybe even 50s, are like, oh, I've got everything together, or blatantly avoiding it and I don't need to get anything together because when I die, everything will be looked after, or I don't have anything. So it will just get handled, between my loved ones, between my family. And just thinking that those things are going to happen isn't good enough. The conversations that I've had, and the things that I've observed with my friends have been shocking. Um, down to when their mother or father has died, in some cases through, dementia, or where they've had to really look after them for some time. And, where the health has, obviously it's just gone down and down and down. And, you know, we're at a stage in our lives where we then maybe have to look after our parents or loved ones. And again, it's making sure that we've got all of that covered off. Um, because I think we just feel like, we only deal with the estate and the will and the funeral arrangements and things like that once we're at a phase or a stage of our life. And it's not true. We really don't know when it's going to hit us. And so a lot of my friends have been dealing with feuds within their family, just shocking things where things were taken that weren't meant to be taken in the way they were, funerals not being as they were, money, just it is shocking. And in some cases, even down to there could be more money if things had been dealt with by, an accountant before, putting provisions in place legally, making sure that, the estate was dealt with in a way that obviously meant that the family took the best from what was left, as opposed to it all going to Mr. and Mrs. Taxman. So it's an interesting one, and I do worry. I worry because we're at a point in our lives where, we're getting older. And it's, what pension, what would be my wishes when I die? Do my children know this? But also for my partner's family who are in their 90s. And, I mean, they're crazy that one's got one eye. One's got, it's just like they are so strong-willed. But we've had some really deep conversations. My partner has with them, and he's kind of taken over that role. But what happens when they die? How does the estate get divided? And if somebody needs caring for, it's ultimately going to come to us because we're local to his family, which is not a problem at all. But it's like, okay, so then how does it get divided? Because my partner would have to take time out of his business to look after his parents, and that would impasse in terms of our cash flow. So there's so much to think about. And I think that balancing our parents' wishes with the duty of care and things like that, these are all things that really do need to be talked about openly in the calm, without the emotion, with, things in a good way. So as we can plan for the worst case scenario, even having insurances and things in place and financial plans in place to support us in times when things aren't how we obviously foresee them. Um, so yeah, this is a legacy thing, and this is why working with Gail is so important because she's so deeply devoted to care and making sure that people are really thought of, that things are really handled in a sensitive, professional way. And she's been through a lot of this herself, and some of the highs and some of the lows. And this is why she's giving her life now to supporting families, to supporting individuals that maybe have got to a point in their life where they just want to make sure that everything's handled off, um, and all the boxes are kind of ticked, and even the ones they're not aware of still ticked. Because that's the thing, is the stuff that we don't know. And Gail's just brilliant at doing this and helping support those that need it. And again, it's about doing it now rather than at a time when, the shit's hit the fan and it's too late. Because once somebody's come to the end of their life, or once they're on a medical system and in a system, it's very difficult to intervene. So this is why having all of these things in place now are so important. They're vital. It's the peace of mind now that you need. And it's certainly the peace of mind that I need, me and my partner need. And so, yeah, just I couldn't think of anything worse than living my life without either regrets or without having all of my stuff together. The thought of my kids, I have three beautiful boys, having to kind of just second guess. Um, and, maybe because there's been feud here, there, or wherever, somebody feels hard done by, or for example, for me, when I die, I really don't want a big funeral. Ashes in the elements, and if I knew that my time was up, I would also choose the right to terminate my life because I wouldn't want somebody, looking after me in a state that they have to take that memory with them, which is more painful, I think. So yeah, there's many, many reasons for us doing this now. So Gail, well done with what you're doing, but also if you're watching this, this is why it's needed. Okay, this is why, we need to do this. We need to have the conversations with ourselves and our kids. We need to have the conversations if the parents aren't having them. They're at an age where it's like not the known. We have to have these conversations with our parents. And even, as a couple, maybe between ourselves, as a family unit, it's not just a nice to, it's an absolute must. Thank you.